Well, good morning, everybody. I am so glad to see everybody here. I thought I was excited, and then when I drove in and saw the sign with DART, my heart actually started to beat really hard because we have waited a really long time with this. And while I am filled with so much gratitude that we are here today and this building is open, I am also reflective of the many, many people who are not and did not get to benefit from this program. So many people who bore the burden of a substandard mental health system, only to see it torn down in the 1980s and replaced with nothing. So the jails have become the de facto treatment for people with serious mental illness for 4 decades. And a shout out to our corrections officers, who for years, without resources and training, have tried to hold those seriously mentally ill people together. Bucks County has tried. We have wanted to do something about this problem to get people diverted from the criminal justice system. We tried with different things like mental health courts. We have a mental health house. We have co-responders, in every single police department. We have a bail hearing officer, all kinds of steps to try to remove and divert people. But one piece of the puzzle was missing, and it's this piece. It's a place where everyone who has that serious mental illness can come and be diverted, be assessed, be restored, and get treatment. This is a really big deal, and everybody in here should be very proud. I thought of wearing green today because that's the color of mental health, but instead I wore gold because that's the color of gratitude, and I have major gratitude to Donna Duffy Grimm and Ray McManaman and their staff for bringing this dream into a concept and to today. And I also want to thank the designers, the engineers, the contractors, the construction managers, all the workers, and Bernard Griggs for having been so dedicated to the success of this building from the very ground up. And I appreciate the police and the district attorney and the lawyers who have confidence in us that this will be a caring program, but that it will also be a competent program. And I am grateful for the leadership of GEO and all the workers who are about to take on this important challenge, and I just know you are going to rise to the occasion. And I have an unbelievable amount of gratitude to the individuals and their family and friends who will step in here and trust us to make them well. Today is a really, really big deal, and my heart is full. And so I would like to now introduce Commissioner Harvey, who has a few words. And I will add that Commissioner DiGirolamo had some issues at home and wasn't able to get here, but his thoughts are completely here.
Thank you, Commissioner Marseglia. It is my honor to be here, and obviously one of the people who Commissioner Marseglia did not thank, because she really wouldn't be proper, is herself. She really has been a driving force to make this happen, and there have been a tremendous number of people at the county level, the entire BHDP team, Marge McKevitt, our COO, from finance to our grant writers to, getting input from corrections. It really has been a team effort to make this happen. I was thinking just when we did a tour of this building a couple of weeks ago, I was talking to the gentleman who's going to be running this facility for GEO, and he used to work for the corrections office. And it was about 6 years ago, maybe almost exactly 6 years ago, when myself and I think Commissioner Marseglia and some others took a tour of the building that used to be here, which was a women's community corrections facility. And it was a building that you could see was very underutilized, was not in great shape. And the discussion was, we have the property here. We have a slab, we have utilities. What could we do on this spot that can make a difference? What can we do on this spot that has meaning to people who really, really need help at a time that might be the lowest in their lives, and serves a purpose and helps law enforcement and the criminal justice system appropriately handle people who shouldn't be in a prison but end up there because there's nowhere else to go. You're sitting in that building. You're sitting in that building, and so there's too many people to thank, really. But certainly Commissioner Marseglia deserves a tremendous amount of praise and gratitude for what she's done here, and it's my honor to be here. We're excited. We've been waiting for this moment for a while. We're glad the snow didn't sort of like really delay anything. That was a little bit of a concern of mine when I saw the forecast over this past weekend. But I'm happy to be here, and I will turn it now over to a gentleman who really kind of helped take an idea, and it was sort of it wasn't a real firm idea, but it was a pretty firm idea, and create a building. And that is a gentleman who was our Special Projects and Diversity Officer, who's now Head of General Services, Bernard Griggs.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good morning, Commissioners, colleagues, partners, and honored guests. I'm Bernard Griggs, and I am the Director of Operations for the General Services Division here at Bucks County. And today marks an important milestone for Bucks County because we are not simply opening a building, we are opening a pathway to a more compassionate, effective approach to mental health and criminal justice. The DART Center here is a new 23,000 square foot, single-story facility designed as a structured, community-based alternative to incarceration. It provides treatment, stabilization, and reentry support for individuals with serious mental illness and co-occurring substance use disorders involved in the court system. It also serves as a step-down option for those transitioning from state hospitals or inpatient forensic care, ensuring continuity and long-term recovery. This project was years in the making. We broke ground in October of 2023 with a 455-day construction schedule and a projected completion in early 2025. Like many complex projects, we faced unforeseen challenges. Through collaboration and persistence, we recovered time and delivered a successful facility. Standing here today reflects that teamwork. I want to recognize the outstanding team who made this possible. I'm going to go through everybody by name because I think it warrants so. USA Architects, Windward for MEP Engineering and Design, Caro Engineering for Civil and Structural Engineering and Design, Gingoli for Construction Management, Magnum as our general contractor, Integrity for Mechanical Services, Vision Mechanical for Plumbing Services, the Farfield Company for Electrical, Guy M. Cooper, AKA GMC for Fire Protection. Thank you for your professionalism and your commitment. I also want to thank our county commissioners for their vision and leadership in prioritizing meaningful mental health solutions for our community. I also want to recognize our Chief Operating Officer, Margie McKevitt, for her leadership and support in helping move this project forward. And I want to acknowledge the many county departments and colleagues who work collaboratively behind the scenes to bring this project to fruition. Finally, thank you to the GEO Group, who will now carry forward the mission inside these walls. You know, this center represents accountability with compassion, structure with opportunity, and most importantly, it represents hope. So thank you all for being here for this important day.
Next, I'd like to introduce Donna Duffy Grimm, who is the one who kind of envisioned this and brought it to where it is today.
Thank you, Commissioners and Bernard, for your comments, and welcome, everyone. We are here. Nelson Mandela once said, "May your choices reflect your hopes, not your fears." And that statement resonates with me around this project because, as some people have mentioned, you know, construction starting in 2023, looking at land 6 years ago. Truth be told, the vision for this began in 2016, 10 years ago, when the Human Services Subcommittee of our Criminal Justice Advisory Board decided to look again at its sequential intercept mapping. That mapping was updated in 2016 and actually again updated in 2024. But in 2016, sequential intercept mapping, as some of you may know, looks at all the points that a person with mental illness and co-occurring substance use disorder can intersect with the criminal justice system. So from intercept 0, which would be before law enforcement involvement, so it would be like behavioral health crisis services, all the way through pretrial and hearings and incarceration and then community entry again, looking at what we can do as a community to shore up resources at each of those intercepts and ensure that people do not penetrate further into the criminal justice system, or if they are incarcerated, that their lengths of stay be reduced. So our sequential intercept mapping showed that we could do more. We could do more at the early intercepts. Commissioner Marseglia, talked about the co-responders. There's a mobile forensic response team. Things have been done, but the DART Center here today does really help to flesh out our continuum here. And so, I did want to I'm a data person, so I can't help myself sometimes, but people with serious mental illness who are incarcerated spend significantly longer being incarcerated than the general population. So my stat for the day is that in 2025, in our own Bucks County Correctional Facility, individuals with serious mental illness spent 50% longer incarcerated than the general population. And that doesn't even take into account individuals who were sent from the jail to the Norristown State Hospital, what used to be called Norristown State Hospital, for restoration to competency. If we add in those days when technically the person is still in custody, 80% longer for individuals with serious mental illness in terms of incarceration days. So we're really hoping to impact those statistics. And so the vision was born, right, for a safe place in the community that could do short-term assessment and stabilization, could do some restoration to competency, right? We are hoping to not have to continue to send everyone to the state hospital who needs restoration to competency, and then a longer-term unit that could help individuals, get treatment, have therapy, but also skill development. When you take the tour, you'll see the big industrial kitchen, which, will be a safe serve kitchen so that individuals could really even have a certification upon leaving our community integration track of this facility. In the beginning, I mentioned inevitable, and so have the commissioners and Bernard, inevitable twists and turns and anxieties. We went from going to renovate that old women's correctional facility to deciding to just demolish and do a complete build up. We've also had, we had the pandemic. People say, oh, let's stop talking about the P word. But that has forever impacted our community workforce, the fiscal environment, and the journey really, is just beginning. And the twists and turns and anxieties will persist throughout that journey. But through it all, I just want to thank county leadership so much, and names were mentioned, previously. It's beyond the commissioners and Bernard and so many people. But through that, they maintained and supported the vision and commitment to individuals with mental illness being treated and healed, not just punished out of fear, out of lack of community resources. So the county at multiple levels and our funders have consistently dedicated human resources and materials and effort to this project. And I don't want to sound like the Oscars, but there are some people I do want to call out. First of all, in my department, Behavioral Health and Developmental Programs, I, of course, want to thank Ray McManaman, who is always by my side to correct me and smooth over when I give misinformation. Cindy Grizak and Andrew Kolchiski from our Managed Care Unit, who have brought funding and attention to detail and have really moved the project along, and without whose support, we would not be in this place. Jennifer Landis, she's not here, she's my fiscal director, and Meredith Pickens, also programmatically and from a licensure perspective. Bernard mentioned several people. I wanted to also mention David Bria in purchasing for all of his helps. He was part of one of the big twists and turns when we decided to do things differently around furnishings and equipment and what that process would look like. From the GEO Group, I would like to thank locally Jeff Contino, who's in the hall there, who is our facility director, and Dr. Tracy Lorden, who, I don't know where she went. Oh, there she is, who will be the program's clinical director. Dr. Abraham, for whom you will hear in a few minutes. Melissa Creighton, who covers 7 different states for GEO and has really been here day after day to ensure the successful opening of this program. John Hogan, who does regional business development. Lori Dixon, who I just met this morning, who's on the fiscal side of things for GEO regionally, and David Cooper, who was unable to be here today, who actually is doing something different with GEO now, but has continued to be involved to maintain contact over these last really 10 years. From a funding perspective, not only has the county come to the table, but we received grant money through Congressman Fitzpatrick's office. We received ARPA funding for this project, and ongoingly, Magellan Behavioral Health and our senior business partner, Kelly Grice, is here with us today, representing Magellan Behavioral Health, who will participate in the funding of that community integration track, which I talked about. I'd also like to thank our community partners, Montgomery County, first of all, who will actually share a couple of beds in our community integration track. Our local law enforcement, I saw them earlier. I know Chief Ziegler, Chief Barbarilla, Chief Nelson are all here. And our judicial supporters as well, for their input and for ongoing communication about how this center really can be the most effective, have the most impact, and support our community partners as best we can. So again, thank you to everyone here, no matter what your role is, and you all have a role in being here. Gratitude, as Commissioner Marseglia said, for your continued efforts in making the DART a safe place which reduces fear, inspires hope, and empowers lives. Thank you.
So just before we go out and cut the ribbon and take some tours, we did want to make sure that we heard from the Senior Director of Treatment and Program Development, Dr. Matthew Abraham.
Welcome, everyone. Today we cut a ribbon, but what are we really cutting through? After nearly a decade of fighting and believing and refusing to give up is the silence, the stigma, the idea that some people don't deserve a second chance. The people who will walk through these doors are not the easy cases. They are people living with severe mental illness, struggling with addiction, and caught up in the criminal justice system, a combination that has left them cycling endlessly between emergency rooms, jails, and the streets, with nowhere that truly holds them. We saw that, and instead of looking away, the people in this room looked harder. Nearly 10 years ago, someone had a vision, the kind that makes people in meetings uncomfortable because it asks something genuinely hard. What if we stopped asking vulnerable human beings to navigate a system that was never designed with them in mind, and instead built something around them? That vision had to survive funding denials, various bureaucratic dead ends, and moments where it looked like it might never happen. Partners from other agencies, the courts, county and state governments stayed at the table. Advocates refused to stop advocating. People with lived experience showed up and said, "This is needed. Do not stop, please." Thank you genuinely. Genuinely thank you to every person who carried every piece of this. You know exactly who you are. You know the late nights and the moments of doubt. Your persistence is the foundation under this very building. I've thought a lot lately about what it means to serve others, not in the abstract, but in the real, daily, sometimes exhausting sense of the word. There's something very profound about choosing to give your energy, your expertise, and your heart to people who are struggling, especially people the world has written off. It is not glamorous work. I think we all know that. It does not always come with recognition, but I believe deeply that there is no more meaningful way to spend a life than in the service of someone else's dignity. The staff, the partners, the volunteers who will carry this mission forward, they have chosen that. And that choice matters more than they may ever fully know. Right now, there's a person, maybe more than one, who doesn't even know that the Dark Center exists. They are somewhere hard, in a cell somewhere, trying to get through another day, that has told them they're too complicated to help. That person is going to find their way here. And when they do, they will walk through a door that says, "We see you. You are worth all of this." That is what this ribbon cutting means. It's not just a new program. It's a new answer to a question our community has asked for a long time. Where do the people go who have fallen through every other crack? Well, they come here, and we'll be ready for them. The real work starts today. There's going to be hard days ahead, but the belief that brought us here, that every person deserves dignity, treatment, and a genuine chance at recovery, that belief will carry us forward. So let's cut this ribbon, let's open these doors, and let's do what we came here to do. Let's go. Thank you so much.
1, 2, 3. Woo!